Welcome to conference, all of you and all of you. Happy Halloween, even though when you see this it won't be Halloween anymore, but we are having fun here for Halloween at the Shala with my mom dressed as a wizard and giving everybody magic. Conference this week is an in-between conference I've put together that is a prelude to our next semester, which is going to be studying Ashtanga. And the next semester's topic is, why Ashtanga? So one of the things that became sort of, Ashtanga became sort of popular for was this idea of it being a really strong practice, it being like very, like really only the crazies do Ashtanga, right, in the world of yoga. And in a way, it almost got a bad reputation that people really thought it was, you know, they couldn't do it if they weren't really athletic or. But the truth of it is, when I look around the room, there is a common theme amongst all of you. And that common theme is that you're all pretty driven. I would say if we were talking about personality types, maybe someone has described you before as A-type, you know, right? Or Pitta in the doshas, that you're fire creatures. And that's what brings you to this practice that really requires a lot of discipline and a lot of dedication. And the truth is, you know, in the olden days when we would be with Guruji in India and stuff, some of the adjustments, I mean, the first Ashtangis that went over there, Tim and David and Annie and Dina, and they were all like these really strong men and women and so fit and really healthy. And so they were moving through the series rather fast, and Guruji was giving them some really athletic adjustments, you know. But because of that, I think, again, we've sort of got this reputation as Ashtangi teachers give these really hard adjustments and break people and, you know, all this stuff. And the truth of it is, over the years, I think we've all like brought wisdom into the way we adjust, and we might move you deeper into a pose, but with wisdom. And I found myself that the more I teach the practice, the more I give the smallest adjustments with the least bit of effort on my part creates the most opening and energy on your part. And I think even for yourself, like, you know, Ashtanga is really not about like getting adjustments, like you come to Mysore and you're like waiting for your adjustment. It's about doing your practice, and that's kind of, an adjustment is really a bonus, you know. And I think more than anything, when I give an adjustment, I hope you internalize it and try to give yourself that adjustment next time. And lately in class I've been saying, if I could adjust everyone in the room, I would want you to do this, or I would want you to do that. And so this week is about me showing you some of the most simplest adjustments that I give here on Mel, and for you to also think about how you can self-adjust, like how you can give yourself this adjustment, whether you're practicing at home or whether you're practicing here and the teacher's not around, like today we don't do adjustments on Wednesdays, is to try to like self-adjust. And my theme for today is, hopefully I brought my own quote, that in yoga as in life, more awareness and less effort. Because sometimes, because we're all these like A-type, like I will get to the top of the mountain. You know, I see people in their practice and it's like push, 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 push. And really there should be this really lovely amount of, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna put effort into this, but I'm not gonna struggle into this. And such is life, right? We'll talk about that a little bit at the end. So I've asked Mel to be good student, bad student. And the first one, of course, is a self-adjustment that I talk about all the time here at the Shala, which is when you're just doing something like Paschimottanasana and you're not really engaged in your legs. So you just pretend you're doing Paschimottanasana. She can't even be a bad student. So be bad student. So oftentimes when I see someone who's, this is such a great example, like she's such a Pacific Ashtanga student, she's not even able to be bad. Can you curl your toes forward? Sometimes where I see people struggle is in their feet, and I notice that their toes either on the floor or on a forward fold are all pulling forward. Or sometimes even doing an advanced pose or a headstand, and you see your toes are just like the Wicked Witch of the West, right, are curled in, and that's not extension, that's not rooting, that is struggle, that is effort, that's closing energy. So for me, when I adjust something like this, I might literally just come around. When we were at the conference, there were hundreds of people, I would literally just come around sometimes and do something like this. And it's that simple. I just push my foot against hers and she's like, ah, yeah. But what you can't see with the camera that well is she went from having what I call slug legs to when she pulled them back, she fully engaged the front of her legs, all the muscles around the knees, the quads, all of this engaged, and it also gave her the opportunity to move more in her bandhas and hollow the belly, which we're all looking for. And then when she's lengthening her hamstrings, which is one of the points of Paschimottanasana, there's more safety in it because we're engaged on the front end and we're lengthening the back end, all from a simple foot adjustment that you all can do yourself. And she's got the toes going on. And then, of course, you guys are used to me saying this in our practice a lot. But oftentimes in Paschimottanasana, people drop their head and they're rounding their back. And what we want to see here more, again, a self-adjustment would be to go into extension. When I adjust someone in this, I love to root them through their sit bones, which is something that all of you can do by pulling the sit bones down. Like now this is your feet. Your sit bones become that rooting system of your feet. And then this entire region from the mid to the upper spine gets elongated. And if I had little fingers to adjust everyone, I would put them right under your rib cage and extend more. You can see how she just got longer. This whole area just got longer here. Then we look at the cervical spine. The problem is either the heads are dropped too far forward and we're rounding the back, or the heads come back too far and we're in this pinching the cervical spine. So we're looking for that point. Again, for all of you, self-adjustment would be very top of the head, base of the spine, looking to create the most length you can in your neck by pulling your shoulders down away from your ears. And if you could see, Melanie, there's all this great space here. And I think, again, when we self-adjust, this is what we do during the day. We don't know what's happening when our feet are in our shoes, but during the day, oftentimes we're doing this. And if we could just take that self-adjustment as well and drop the shoulders down, it's beautiful. One more self-adjustment for everybody. So Paschimottanasana, let's do Prasarita Padottanasana. All my P poses. So oftentimes, again, people are gripping their toes into the floor. And I can tell because sometimes your toes turn colors like red and white. But you can see there's like a little pinching here. And this is what we're doing for a lot of the standing poses. I see people pinching their toes, and it's just what we do to grip on, and it's over effort. But if Melanie, and again, applies rooting system, so down through the feet and just slightly floats her toes, as Guruji would say, loosen your toes. That's what he used to tell us. He just meant to don't grab them down, like extend them out. And you can see that when she did that rooting system, try to be bad knees again. It's too hard for her to be bad knees. But when the muscles are just hanging out around the knees, once you root down, it pulls all the muscles very nice around the knees up, pulls up through the quads. And again, you get more of the bandhas here in that. So you can go ahead and have a seat. So it's kind of, I don't know how much you can see with the camera, but so if we're here, the knees are kind of pudgy and hanging down. A self-adjustment all of you make is to lift up. It's hard for me to be bad too. And I love it because sometimes when I walk around the room, it's a little bit like Jaws. I used to wear anklets all the time. You guys remember when I wore anklets? And so they would like jingle, and you could hear like when I'm coming towards you, like jingle, 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 jingle. But every now and then we'd see like these kneecaps like whoosh, 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 right? So you don't need me to do it. It's a beautiful self-adjustment. So as in yoga and life, I do think this is a great, like we're the looking bird here, and we can see sometimes if we're aware, like, oh, my shoulders are up here, drop them down. I can apply this lengthening, and it's not that much, it's not struggle, but it's just this little bit of effort that makes a difference. But it's the same in life, and I think in life, you know, we have to be the looking bird as well and see when we're trying to control something or when we're trying to like get it right, get it right, get it right. So I have a couple stories that are just really beautiful examples, I think, that'll give you these little visuals to remember, like you have a visual here of looking at Mel. I want you to have a visual of sort of how this kind of transpires in our life as well. And the first one is, actually, I'll tell you my story first. It's not my story. It's Robert Fulghum's story. And it was in one of his books. I think it was the book about everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. But I'm putting that out there to the world. I could be wrong about that, which book it's from. But this is a story he tells, and I'm going to tell my version of his story, which is very Indian. It was 1984, and it was during that time he was a very famous author, and he was traveling all over the world, really, for his books and stuff. And he was in Hong Kong airport, And he was sitting there, chilling before his flight would get there. And he noticed this young lady that was also in the airport, and he was sitting close to her, and he could tell that she had been backpacked. She had her backpack, and all her stuff just looked like she had had an adventure. And he could tell that she was upset. And he was, how you think in your mind like someone else's story, and he's like, maybe she got her heart broken, or maybe she had to leave before she wanted to. And then he said you could just watch her get more and more and more and more upset, to the point where she was like going through her bags and her backpack, and she just burst into tears and started crying. And so Robert got up and he sat next to her and tried to comfort her, and he's like, are you okay? What's wrong? How can I help you? What's going on with you? And she burst in between tears and said, I lost my plane ticket. I can't find my plane ticket. And this really nice couple from Chicago was there too and had seen what was happening, so they came over. And the three of them were trying to comfort her. And, as you would, you'd be like, okay, where were you? When was the last time you were holding your ticket? And have you looked through everything? Let's look through it again together. And just trying to calm her down. And she was just crying and upset. And so at some point, Robert said that he and this nice couple from Chicago said, well, let's go and just get a little something to eat. And when we get back, we're going to go to the airline, and we're going to talk to them for you and see how we can get you on the plane, get you on the flight. So they get her backpack and everything together, and they stand up, and she screams. She looked down and saw that she'd been sitting on her ticket. The whole time she'd been sitting on her ticket. And there's so many great metaphors and things that we can all pull out of this story. But I think one of them is just when we get in like something like that, like we're in struggle, we're trying to control, oh my gosh, when we get escalated in it, that we don't realize the very solution is under our butt, It's a good way to think of it. And I have to tell you, I was reading Robert's books years ago, and my mom and I, sometimes my mom will say to me, there'll be something that I'll be like, oh my gosh, whatever, and she'll be like, honey, are you sitting on your ticket? And this is a good reminder, yeah. So here's your second story, which is truly one of my favorite quotes by Annie Dillard, and this one is from her book, Teaching a Stone to Talk. It's another really great visual. We'll end with this one. I like insects for their stupidity. A paper wasp is fumbling at the stained glass window on my right. I saw the same sight in the same spot last Sunday. Psst, idiot, sweetheart, go around by the door. I hope we seem as endearingly stupid to God, bumbling down into lamps, running half-wit across the floor, banging for days at the hinge of an open door. So, smile next time a fly or wasp is at your door banging, or next time you sense you may be sitting on your own ticket. These could be messengers or teachers. Namaste.